Here's what you should do if you are a consumer right now in the market. Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and we're going to be talking about the new and used car market bubble and the fact that it seems like it's on the verge of bursting. And so yeah, I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory, so let's get straight into the video. Now, I already detailed the reasons as to why the market has gotten this way in a video that I posted earlier this week. It was titled something like, "Are you an idiot for buying a car right now?" But aside from all of the reasons, and again, if you do want to know about those reasons, just go watch that video. The market's kind of taken an interesting turn recently, and it's not boding well. So first off, the supply issues are still there, so there's still issues with manufacturing, and so the supply and demand is still pretty strong for the new side of things. On the used car market though, supply and demand has kind of taken an interesting turn. So first off, the supply is still really low, but the demand has decreased, right? There's not as many people buying cars right now, but then on top of that, the prices have become so overinflated that you have a bunch of people that do want to buy a car, but they've just been completely priced out of the market. The same thing's happened with housing, and it's happening with cars, and it's having a very interesting effect for dealerships, but then also just for buyers as well. So here's exactly what's happening right now, and hopefully this helps you out if you are looking to buy a car currently. What's basically happening is used cars are sitting on dealer lots for quite some time right now because of the overinflated prices and the fact that nobody wants to pay that kind of money for their vehicles. And so just about a month ago or 2 months ago, if a used car came onto a dealer's lot, it pretty much just sold right away. Whereas now these cars are coming in and they're sitting and nobody's buying them. And so then people are like, oh, perfect, that's going to bring the prices down. But that's not what's happening. Is the prices are actually still increasing, because what's happening is these dealerships will get these cars in via trade-in typically. They'll sit in the lot for 30, 60, sometimes 90 days, and then the dealership will go and sell it at auction, and they'll actually be selling these cars at auction for above what they had it posted for on their lot. And so they're actually making more money selling these cars at auction than they are retailing them to customers, which doesn't make any sort of logical sense when you think about it. You go, okay, wait, nobody's buying this car, and then the dealership is just going selling it at auction, selling it for more money than when they had it posted for. So someone's buying a car for more money than they should be, and there's nobody buying it in the first place, right? It just doesn't make any sort of logical sense. And so this is where I think things are gonna have to shift, and I really think there's just like, whatever this bubble is, I think it's on the verge of collapsing, because now you have all of these dealerships with these cars that they've paid so much money for, and then nobody's buying them, then they're selling it at auction, and then someone else is paying even more money for it. And it's not people that are buying these cars, it's just dealerships. These cars are basically going from dealership to dealership, and they're just getting higher and higher in price. And like I said, retail customers aren't purchasing them, and so it just doesn't bode well for the used car market overall. And then on top of that, the actual value of the car versus the book value, the shift has kind of basically changed in a way that the book values are a lot higher than what the actual value is of the car, and some dealers aren't really looking into that, and so then they're paying book value for a car, whereas the actual value of that car has decreased because of the fact that nobody's buying anything anymore. So now we have to get into the speculation part, where I basically give you guys what I think is going to be happening, and I can't really give an exact time frame on it, but I can at least tell you what I think is going to happen. So what I think is going to happen is, because of the supply issues on the new cars, I think that the prices are still going to stay relatively high, but I think that they're pretty much at the peak, and then they're just going to kind of stay plateaued at this point. Maybe they'll increase a little bit, but I really think that we're pretty much at the top of what things are going to be price-wise. And I think what's going to happen is this is going to kind of continue for a little bit, and then hopefully, right, the microchip issue kind of gets fixed so that we can have more cars getting produced. But I'm sure that there's some other part that's just going to not be available, and then cars are not going to be able to be produced because of that part. But this is kind of what's going to happen, is you're going to have this flat line for a little bit, and the values are going to stay about the same, and then manufacturing is still going to stay really low, and that's going to kind of keep these values overinflated. But then what I think is going to end up happening is manufacturing is going to slowly pick up, so the values are going to slowly come down, and you're going to have all of these dealerships that paid tons of money for these used cars, and they aren't selling them right now. Even though the values are really high, nobody's actually paying that money for the cars. So then what's going to end up happening happening is these dealerships are going to have all this inventory that they have way too much money put into, and some dealerships are going to be able to survive the storm, other dealerships aren't. I think you're going to see a lot of these smaller dealerships go out of business because they bought all of these vehicles at such a high premium. And so then what it's going to end up doing to used car values, I think, is, again, they're going to stay flat. Manufacturing is going to increase with new cars, so then the used car values are going to start to slowly kind of come down. And then you're going to have all of these dealerships that are in these cars for way too much money basically have to file bankruptcy, all that kind of stuff. They're going to go out of business, and then they're going to have to obviously liquidate their entire inventories for whatever they can get out of it. So you're going to have a bunch of these cars flood the market at a much lower price, which is going to basically cause the prices to come down even further at a faster rate. And ultimately what's going to happen is kind of like the whole used car market's just going to take a huge dip. And again, that's kind of what I think. Obviously that's just my guess, and your guess is as good as mine, but based off of everything that I've seen happen over the last year or so, I think, and the general trends that are happening, I think that's kind of a safe bet to assume. So here's what you should do if you are a consumer right now in the market, and what I'd recommend is if you're looking at a used car, just wait a little bit. And I think that, again, this is just my guess, and obviously do your own research, but I think just wait a little bit. The values are going to come down. However, if you're looking at a new car, again, the values are so overinflated, and with how depreciation's been and everything, or rather the lack of depreciation, a lot of times you can get a good enough deal on a new car right now that you're really not going to lose any money, and so it still can make sense from that standpoint. The used stuff, though, it's crazy. And then I guess if you have been thinking about selling your car, sell it right now, because this is probably the only time you're going to be able to make any sort of money on the car. And I don't foresee the values ever being as high as they are right now. And so if you've been sitting on a car thinking about selling it, just do it right now while you can get stupid amounts of money for it before manufacturing increases and before the used car market is flooded, when obviously dealers just lose all of their money because they paid way too much money for these cars. And I mean, it literally could be as simple as just sending your car to auction. I wouldn't even try to private sell anything right now. Like, it's such a mess, and I think that literally as like a normal person, I would just go and sell your car at auction, and you'd be surprised how much money it would bring in this market right now. And so yeah, overall, I would just probably wait if you're going to buy a used car, and if you have a car that you've been thinking about selling, just get rid of it at this point. Now, that's pretty much going to sum things up for today's video on the used car and I guess new car market bubble and what I think is going to happen. I want you guys to let me know what you think is going to happen in the comment section below. And then I do need some more questions from you guys, so if you could put your questions in the comment section below or send me an email or a message on Instagram, whatever works best for you. And then as always, if you are stopping for the first time, I'd really appreciate it if you'd subscribe. And then if you feel like my videos are of value to you, then I'm going to include a link to my Patreon in the description below where you can support the channel. And yeah, I'll see all of you guys in the next video.